crypto, there's an elephant in the room which is not being talked about. The reason that it is not being talked about is that talking about it would be against the financial interests of the people who are most involved in it. The crypto experience, whether you're a user, a developer, or an entrepreneur, is shit. Absolute garbage. I remember the first gut-wrenching, terrifying moment that I used MetaMask. I clicked confirm, and I was not sure if I had successfully made a transaction with Uniswap or had just lost all of my money. Will mainstream users ever be okay with a MetaMask pop-up that basically says, sign this hash, hope for the best? Not a chance. Will your mum, your uncle, your cousin ever be able to remember to write down a seed phrase, break it into 3 parts, and securely store it in 3 locations? Not a chance. I see developers spending countless hours and sleepless nights trying to make sure that their decentralized application is secure, only to wake up one day and realize North Korea has stolen $600 million of their users' funds. I see entrepreneurs scouring the world for the handful of people that have the skills needed to build smart contracts, grind to find a user base willing to put up with the user experience, and then be cut off at the knees by congestion and fees. Then, with your business crippled, having to go back into your office and make half of your team redundant. Take a moment to really reflect on your last 24 months of DeFi and ask yourself if what I am saying isn't true. If you've ever used decentralized finance, you will know the constant, nagging background fear that your money isn't safe. And with the industry having seen over $6 billion of smart contract hacks to date, it's easy to see why. And sure, we are brave, we are early, the risks seem worth it, but really none of this is okay for our friends, families, and colleagues. Right now, crypto, DeFi, and Web3 is just one big glorified tech demo. For everyday people to use it, we've got to make it radically better. I am going to show you our vision of radically better. I am going to show you how the Radix technology stack works together to create a platform for radically better Web3. And then I'm going to show you something game-changing. I'm going to show you a Web3 user experience that is so magically delicious that it feels like using the future. My name is Piers Ridyard. To get started, let's zoom out a bit. There's about 20,000 smart contract developers working full-time in DeFi and Web3. That's great, but it's a fraction of the 27 million developers worldwide. In just 2 years, DeFi grew from $1 billion under management to over $200 billion. That's incredible, but still just a rounding error on the $400 trillion global financial system. Most importantly though, how many people do you know personally who regularly use Web3 and DeFi? Probably less than a handful. Why? Because Web3 and DeFi needs to become actually usable first. Users need their DeFi experience to be as safe as traditional the best Web2 apps. Developers need tools that let them express their Web3 ideas in code easily, quickly, and safely. Entrepreneurs need network infrastructure that scales, and a pool of talent that can keep up with their Web3 ambitions. None of these things are true today. And the problems all start from the fact that the technologies that make public ledgers possible have not really been designed to work together. As a result, the crypto industry is filled with incredibly smart people who are working very hard on solving the wrong problems. What no one in the industry seems to be realizing is that to deliver mainstream Web3 and mainstream DeFi, the whole technology stack, all has to be built and designed together. Only then can we deliver the user experiences, developer tools, and network infrastructure that can actually take this industry mainstream. And achieving mainstream adoption by redesigning the full stack is a radical approach. And radical approaches such as this are precisely what has reshaped industries and society throughout history. Look at electric cars and Tesla. Before Tesla, electric cars were not desirable. For most people, the massive downsides versus a standard gas-powered car were not an acceptable trade-off. Tesla thought bigger. They focused on the things that had to be right to take electric cars mainstream. To go mainstream, the Tesla Model S had to be desirable and practical. To achieve this, Tesla would design both the car and the charging infrastructure together. The supercharger network was a game changer for the car design. A charging station every 150 miles meant that engineers could now make the right decisions for the car without compromising on the user experience. With the supercharger network, for the first time, electric car owners could travel coast to coast in the USA in an electric car that was desirable and practical. This is because Tesla looked at the full user experience required for people to switch to an electric car, and then built the technology, products, and services that designed together could revolutionize an industry. Just like Tesla, we've designed everything to work together. It's hard because each layer of the stack, from the wallet to the programming language, from the execution environment to the consensus, it's all connected to each other. And this isn't something we understood well until we got deep into our work on consensus. In order to truly scale, any consensus design must grapple with the idea that no single node can store the entire state of the network, just like no computer can store the complete contents of the internet. We were thinking about how information could move from node to node, and realized that in order to solve the problem in the right way, consensus itself would have to know what tokens, accounts, and resources were and how they behaved. And as we began to build out that model, we realized it would have profound implications not only to consensus, but also to the way that smart contracts could be programmed, to how decentralized applications could be made more safe, and to what user experiences could now be possible. It was like discovering some fundamental law of physics from which everything flowed. In order to truly achieve our vision of making DeFi and Web3 mainstream, we now realized the entire stack. Consensus, execution, programming, and user experience all had to be built together. And suddenly, we saw how to do it. To explain more fully, let's dive into each part of the stack, starting with consensus. The Radix consensus algorithm is called Cerberus. And it's the world's first consensus algorithm that does not break atomic composability as it scales. Now, the research for this began in 2013, not in Silicon Valley, but in a small city in England called Stoke-on-Trent, where the Industrial Revolution began. From that initial research, the Radix team has developed a lot of consensus algorithms. With one algorithm, Tempo, we even successfully replayed the entire history of the Bitcoin network in just 30 minutes across a massively distributed network, peaking at over 1.4 million transactions per second. A world record that still stands unbroken to this day. However, during this research, we kept noticing a serious flaw in how we and the rest of the industry were trying to solve scalability. The problem is, it's really hard to solve scalability without destroying something called atomic composability. Atomic composability lets a user combine many decentralized applications and many tokenized assets into a single transaction. You can think of it like a sports trade of 3 athletes arranged between 3 teams. Either all the deals are made and the players all move at once, or one fails and everyone stays where they are. It's the same thing with atomic composability. Everything you want to happen happens in a single transaction, and it all happens together, or everything fails, making sure you don't get left with assets or things you don't want whilst trying to get the things you do want. What many people don't realize is that 69% of all Ethereum transactions compose together 3 or more smart contracts. That means that atomic composability drives a huge majority of all activity on public networks. Scalability solutions that sacrifice atomic composability are going to continually handicap user experience. And except for Radix, this is where the entire industry is heading. From Ethereum 2.0 to Avalanche, from Cosmos to Polkadot, from Near to Aptos, they all have scaling techniques that limit which applications can be combined with which assets in a single transaction. They all increasingly sacrifice atomic composability as they scale. We should all see Web3 as the asset superhighway. For it to succeed, there must be no bottlenecks to its interconnectedness. To solve this, we took the lessons from developing Tempo and designed an entirely new consensus algorithm, Cerberus. Cerberus is the world's first consensus algorithm that does not break atomic composability as it scales. Getting there involved completely changing the fundamentals of how a decentralized network handles assets and transactions. A simple implementation of Cerberus went live with the Radix mainnet in July 2021, and it has had 0 downtime and done over 1 million transactions in the 1.5 years that it has been running. With a proven basic implementation of Cerberus, we know the development roadmap needed to get to full linear scalability. After almost a decade of research and prototyping, we finally had something that could scale to serve everyone on the planet without compromising the interconnectedness of the system. But we already knew that this wasn't the complete picture. It was just a bit of it. With consensus done, nailing the next part of the stack, programming and execution, was just as critical. dApps can't leave developers, entrepreneurs, and their users terrified that all their money could disappear overnight. Without good dApps, there aren't users. Without users, it's still demo DeFi. Creating a fantastic Web3 builder experience is actually just as hard as solving consensus. And working out how to solve that led us to solve one of the biggest challenges facing Web3 today: making Web3 code easy to build and deploy. Difficult to ship code isn't a new problem. In the early 90s, the computer game industry was just getting started. A guy called John Carmack had just made Doom. A hobbyist industry was starting to grow into something more serious. But there was a big problem. So much work was needed to get the basics of a game running that only about 20% of a developer's time was actually spent on building the gameplay. The rest, custom rendering engines, custom physics engines, and bugs, lots of bugs. It took the invention of a game engine to revolutionize the game industry. Game engines like Unity and Unreal took care of the standardizable, low-level stuff that every game depended on. They gave game developers general-purpose rendering engines, general-purpose physics engines. The bugs got way smaller and less hairy, and the games got larger and more complex. And what's more, they brought libraries of reusable art and in-game items. They brought community. And what happened? The developers flooded in. The entrepreneurs flooded in. The users flooded in. Gaming went from a cottage industry to one that is now bigger than music, TV, and film combined. All thanks to the invention of an engine. Radix has applied these lessons to decentralized finance and Web3. We call it the Radix Engine, and it's where execution and assets are combined with consensus in the next layer of the Radix stack. We've taken all of the hard, low-level work that Web3 and DeFi developers on other platforms are spending 80% of their time worrying about and simply removed it. In the Radix Engine, asset behavior is baked in. Users no longer have to wait for wallets and applications to integrate the new token types they want to own. With the Radix Engine, new token types like soulbound tokens can be deployed and are instantly compatible with all applications and wallets. And it's not just about assets. We also studied how people were hacking applications built on public networks like Ethereum. Hacks such as reentrancy attacks, spend approval attacks, or signature manipulation attacks. Hacks that have cost the Ethereum ecosystem alone over $500 million. We then designed the Radix Engine to make many of these attacks impossible. The Radix Engine makes asset security a primary function of the network, not an afterthought. Which is awesome, but it's not quite everything needed to build a dApp. We still needed a programming language to let developers unlock the full power of the Radix Engine and Cerberus. For the internet to really take off, it also needed a programming language built specifically for programs to run in web browsers. JavaScript was created, and suddenly the browser could react intelligently to user input without needing to run back to the server for a whole new page every time. The invention of JavaScript led to an explosion of innovation and took the internet from the static websites of the Web 1 era to the dynamic social media giants that dominated the Web 2 era. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter would literally be impossible without JavaScript. We've done the same thing for Web 3. We've created a programming language specifically for the needs of Web 3 and DeFi. And it's called Scrypto. The next part of the Radix stack that makes Web 3 easy to build and deploy. We knew that to get 27 million developers into Web 3, coding had to be as intuitive as possible. So we started with the user experience first. Something that JavaScript really should have done. Over a year and a half, we showed nearly 1,000 developers how to program in an asset-oriented way using Scrypto with the Radix Engine. Interview after interview, you could start to see the light bulb moment when it clicked. Many even went home and started building Web3 programs in Scrypto code without any prompting from us, having only seen the documentation once. Some developers have even told us that it feels like cheating to build Web3 or DeFi dApps using Scrypto. That's what happens when you design tools that provide the absolute shortest path from idea to implementation. With the Radix Engine, Scrypto puts assets, accounts, and permissions at the heart of the programming language. Scrypto makes DeFi, NFTs, tokens, and liquidity pools all core to the language. It treats asset security as a primary function, not an afterthought. It makes digital assets feel like physical objects. Scrypto is the world's first programming language built specifically for the needs of Web3. It went into early access in December of 2021. Since then, it has become one of the fastest growing languages in the space. In just 12 months, Scrypto has gone from 0 to over 4,500 developers learning the language. And we've had some incredible feedback along the way. Things like, I still find it hard to believe I was able to make that in just a few days. And as a Google software engineer, this has to be one of the best programming languages I've seen yet. And even I have programmed in Solidity, Plutus on Cardano, and the Phi language on Ethereum, and I can guarantee you that Scrypto is the best I've had in my hands. And more, loads more, just like that. And while we love hearing so many kind words, the real proof of success is in the applications that the community has already built, while Scrypto is still in alpha. Our community repositories are already stuffed full of examples of decentralized exchanges of every stripe, oracles, lending platforms, yield farming systems, DAOs, and countless other smaller building blocks. Everything needed to run a fully fledged DeFi ecosystem already exists in open source code that anyone can go and use. All before smart contracts are even live on the Radix public network. The starting gun to launch will be the Babylon upgrade of the Radix mainnet in 2023. Throughout the history of platforms, from Twitter to TikTok, from YouTube to Twitch, from Ethereum to Avalanche, the people that got in early on these platforms are best positioned to reap the largest rewards. If you have been wondering when is the best time to get started with Radix, it was yesterday. But luckily, the second best moment is right now. So there you have it. The first version of the Radix network is already live. And Cerberus is on a path to make sure infrastructure can scale, meaning users, developers, and entrepreneurs will never be taxed with high fees, bottlenecks, or restrictions on their growth. The developer experience with Scrypto, powered by the Radix Engine, is so delightful and intuitive that users, developers, and entrepreneurs can be confident that the powerful dApps that they want to use, build, and run are secure. With Scrypto, many more of the 27 million developers worldwide can take their Web3 ideas to production, managing hundreds of millions of dollars quicker than ever before. And all of this is only made possible with the full Radix technology stack. A technology stack where the programming language, execution environment, and consensus have all been designed to work perfectly together for Web3. But there is one piece of the Radix stack still missing. Web3 and DeFi will only work if our friends, our families, and our colleagues are comfortable using this technology to control their financial futures. Great user experience is the final barrier preventing mass adoption of Web3. To introduce our vision for a radically better Web3 and DeFi user experience, leveraging the full power of the Radix stack, here is Matthew Hine.
Thanks very much, Piers. I've really been looking forward to this. Let's talk about user interface, because user interface makes or breaks technologies. Your tech might be amazing, but you're only going to get a few bleeding edge users unless it has the right user interface. Basically, the interface has to make sense for what people want to actually do with the tech. The history of breakthrough technologies is full of examples of this. The personal computer wasn't relevant to most people until it had a user interface built around a mouse. The internet didn't start to become relevant in everyone's daily life until we had the web browser. And the smartphone was a toy for geeks and executives until it had a screen that you could use with your finger. Web3 is this all over again. It has this huge, incredible potential, but it's awful to use today. And so it won't be relevant to the world until it has that right user interface that makes it both better and easier to use. That means if Radix is going to be the platform for mainstream Web3, we have to rethink the concept of a digital wallet from the essentials. It has to make it easy to hold your digital assets securely. It has to make transactions using your digital assets safe and predictable. And it has to work everywhere. And that is exactly what we've done with the Radix Wallet. I'm going to show you our vision of a mainstream-ready Web3 user experience using the Radix Wallet. But first, I really want to tell you about what makes that user experience possible. Because as it turns out, you can't get there by just focusing on the wallet alone. The problem is that the design of a wallet is limited by the features of the platform that the wallet connects to. If you don't fix the platform, you cannot fix the wallet user experience. And no, you can't fix it even if you build a special crypto phone. So for Radix to build a better wallet, as you might guess, we had to use a full stack solution. Shortly after the very first Radix mainnet release, we started working on this problem. And after about 1.5 years of user research and development work, we found the solution and we built it. In the end, we had to integrate 5 new technologies into the Radix platform itself that help us solve user experience. Let's talk about these technologies one by one and why they matter. First, smart accounts. We knew we had to answer the big, obvious user question that's holding the industry back. How do we give people a secure, decentralized wallet without them having to deal with this complicated seed phrase that they don't understand? Literally billions of dollars have been stolen or just lost because it's way too easy for most people to lose a single seed phrase that unlocks everything they own. It's as if you had to carry around a lockbox with your life savings in it, and there's only one key that opens it, and it's impossible to change the lock. There is no way that this is acceptable to most people. So to make a wallet experience that's safe, fully decentralized, and as easy as using a typical banking app, we had to rethink how accounts on a blockchain work. We call them smart accounts. Unlike regular blockchain accounts, smart accounts on Radix aren't just an address. They're functional containers for assets. They have multi-signature signing and multi-factor recovery built right in on the network. This means that the Radix wallet can rely on those security features. But if you lose your phone, the smart account lets you recover access without a seed phrase and without trusting a centralized service. Second, personas. Web3 needs a better way to log in than Web 2. We know that we have to get rid of the hassle and bad security of passwords, but we can't jump straight to a login solution like passkeys, where we're trusting Apple, Google, and Microsoft to hold our login secrets. Now, MetaMask is a baby step in this direction. Using MetaMask, you can connect one of its token account addresses to a website in one click. That's great, but a token account address is a pretty poor replacement for a real login. A login should be who you are, not just where you happen to be holding your stuff. With a single login, you should be able to connect multiple accounts full of assets. You should be able to change which accounts you're using without changing your login. We're never going to get the Web3 version of Twitter if losing a single seed phrase means losing your Twitter login. And we can't have really powerful decentralized finance applications unless users can have a personalized login that lets them do things across multiple asset accounts. It's just like the banking apps that they're used to today. We can solve all of this with something we call personas. Personas are kind of like smart accounts, but for identity. They use the same nice on-ledger multi-factor security features as smart accounts, but rather than holding tokens, they control access to a login. Basically, the upshot is that they let the Radix wallet do passwordless, personalized logins that are safe, decentralized, and anonymous. All you'll need to log into Web3 applications on Radix will be a tap on your phone. But once again, if you lose your phone, you'll still be able to recover access to your logins without trusting your privacy to anybody. Third, Radix Connect. We live our lives on our phones, and so, of course, the Radix wallet has to be on our phone too. But you still need to be able to use it with applications on your desktop and do that securely. It should be obvious that using a Web3 wallet shouldn't be locked to one device, but that's pretty much what we're stuck with today. You can have a wallet on your phone, but you're stuck with interfacing with dApp web pages on your phone. You can use DeFi on your desktop using a wallet that's a browser extension. But the security of that is terrible, and you can't take your wallet with you when you leave your computer. Doing this the right way is why we created Radix Connect. Radix Connect creates a secure connection directly between the Radix wallet on your mobile phone and dApps running on your desktop. This means that you can have the big screen desktop experience, but the control of your accounts and assets is always on your phone. Everything stays secure and accessible, and we don't need a centralized service in the middle to make it happen. Next, native assets. We need a Web3 wallet that can clearly tell you what you actually own. MetaMask and crypto wallets today seem to do this, but you've probably noticed that the illusion keeps breaking down a little bit. Like, sometimes you know a token or an NFT should be in your account, but you have to follow a bunch of steps in the wallet before they actually show up. Or you hear how sometimes people get scammed because tokens that they think they own suddenly disappear from their wallet. You might also have noticed that NFTs or LP tokens look almost meaningless in your wallet. If you want to see what data they have, where you can use them, what you can redeem them for each asset you have to individually figure out what website to connect to so that you can actually see what you need to know. It kind of makes you feel like you don't really own these things. The reason for all of this is that Ethereum and just about every network has no idea what a token actually is. This is pretty weird when DeFi and Web3 are supposed to be all about digital ownership. For example, you might assume that your tokens in MetaMask are these things that are held inside an account. In reality, each token is a separate smart contract. To show you your balance of USDC tokens, MetaMask isn't looking in this account thing because there is no such thing. It has to go out and ask the USDC smart contract. It has to ask for your balances, and it has to trust that smart contract for everything about that token and how you can use it. This is not only kind of weird, it's really risky. A token smart contract might lie about your balance, or it might easily have a secret function that lets somebody else take your money. Because of how tokens work, your wallet cannot protect you from this stuff. And that means that you basically can't be confident in what you actually own. And that is one of the many reasons that on the Radix network, we have native assets. On Radix, every token and NFT that you can imagine is a native asset. They're not just balances in a smart contract. The Radix network natively understands assets as real objects that are held inside smart accounts. That means that the wallet can always show you everything you own. It means tokens can't have weird, unpredictable behavior. And it means that the wallet can show you things like what are your LP tokens worth, or what makes your NFTs unique. Native assets make digital ownership real, and that's the whole point. Last, the transaction manifest. And I love this one. The headline is that we've finally eliminated the fear and uncertainty whenever you review and sign transactions. Stop and think about how important this is for a moment. Today, every signature is a leap of faith. Here's what I mean. The transaction that you're signing in MetaMask is basically a cryptic message. MetaMask passes that message with your signature to a single smart contract. That contract then runs off and does whatever. That's all the transaction says. And so it's impossible to know for sure what's actually going to happen as a result. This is a crazy way of doing things, and there are lots of examples of why it's such a bad idea. Like, if the smart contract you're using has a bug, or if worse, it's malicious, it can easily just take the wrong thing from your account or give you the wrong thing back. There's no way for you to know for sure ahead of time. Another example is that a bot can front-run your transaction. When that happens, the actual result of a trade is worse than you thought it would be when you signed the transaction, and there's nothing you can do about it. But it doesn't have to be this way. We've solved all of these problems by completely changing how transactions work on Radix. We call them transaction manifests. A transaction manifest isn't just a message you're sending to a smart contract. It's what you want a transaction to be. It's a set of instructions directly to the network for things that you care about, like what assets do I want to withdraw? Where should those assets go? What assets do I want to get back at the end? This seems like the obvious approach, but for some reason, no other network does this way except Radix. The result is that the Radix wallet can read the transaction manifest and actually show you what's going to happen when you sign. It also means that you can add your own rules. For example, if you want to make sure that a token swap doesn't return less than you expect, the Radix wallet will put that right into the transaction manifest. No matter what the smart contract tries to do or who tries to front run you, the transaction only happens if you get back what you expect at the end. That means that there's no more signing hashes and hoping for the best. What you see in the transaction manifest is what you get. So, we've talked about smart accounts, personas, Radix Connect, native assets, and the transaction manifest. Individually, these 5 technologies solve some really crucial usability problems. But now, I want to give you a preview of how they all work together, because it's that combination that lets us create a Web3 user experience that's ready for the mainstream. Our portal into that user experience is the Radix Wallet. Immediately, we've got a design and a presentation that's very different from the typical crypto wallet. It feels familiar and appealing to anybody. Functionally speaking, we've got a summary of all my smart accounts. With that, I immediately see what matters to me, a simple view of everything I own. At a glance, I can get an idea of all the different kinds of native assets that I've filed away in my accounts, and it's all very clear and understandable. By the way, you'll notice that off to the right, I'm showing the icons for smart accounts and native assets. Those are the Radix stack technologies that make this part of the wallet possible. You'll see those technology icons change throughout the preview as different combinations of the 5 technologies work together. Okay, on my phone screen, if you look at the topmost box on the list, you'll see my main account. Let's see what it would look like if I opened that account. Inside my main account, the Radix wallet breaks out my assets into different types that each have different meanings and purposes. That's only possible because Radix's native assets each have a clear definition of what they are and what they can do. The wallet can look at each asset in my account, read those definitions, and show me what I've got. This is so much more direct, automatic, and reliable than what MetaMask can do with smart contract tokens on Ethereum. So you'll notice 4 different types of assets here: tokens, NFTs, LP tokens, and badges. Right now we're looking at my tokens, but let's see what I've got under NFTs. It's easy to think of NFTs as just Bored Apes and random art collectibles, but they really can be used for so much more. An NFT can represent digital ownership of anything from a sword you won in your favorite game to a digital ticket to your favorite sporting event. Thinking even bigger, an NFT could represent the loan you took out to buy your car, or even the title of ownership to that car. An NFT can represent your ownership of virtually any unique thing that you can imagine, and you can hold them all right in here in your Radix wallet. On Radix, native assets mean that all of these different kinds of NFTs are still automatically recognized by the wallet, and each one is nicely displayed with all of the metadata that makes it unique, just like you see here. For example, imagine a Web3 crowdfunding website called Scalability. I've got some NFTs here that represent some albums that I've helped to fund on Scalability. In my wallet, I can see the metadata that makes those NFTs special. It's the same metadata that makes the Scalability site recognize what those NFTs mean. And the Radix wallet can do that without any special integration to Scalability at all. If you're a developer, this is also really exciting because the NFTs that you create will automatically get this kind of first-class presentation in the Radix wallet without any extra work on your part. We'll see in a minute what I can do with these NFTs, but first, let's have a look at my LP tokens. So, what is an LP token? The concept is maybe something you're familiar with if you've already been playing with DeFi apps today. For example, if you contribute tokens to a Uniswap liquidity pool, you get back some amount of this funny token called an LP token. LP tokens represent your percentage of ownership of that pool and your share of the rewards that that pool generates for you. Liquidity pools are one of the superpowers of DeFi. They repeat over and over again across apps. They allow anyone to get directly rewarded for putting their money to work. It's basically what banks have been doing for hundreds of years, but now you can do it with just a few bucks. But even though liquidity pools are crucially important, wallets today don't understand the concept of LP tokens, and so they can't show you things like where they came from or what they're worth. Basically, they're really confusing to deal with. Here in the Radix wallet, though, look at my MegaSwap LP tokens at the bottom. I can see exactly what those tokens are. Right now, I can redeem them on MegaSwap for a mix of some XRD and some RBTC tokens. That's not just convenient, it has to be this clear and easy if we want to bring the benefits of liquidity pools to mainstream users. Last, we can also have a look at my badges. Think about the kinds of things that you hold in your physical wallet. It's not just money and financial stuff. You've also got things like IDs and membership cards. You need things that can prove what you're allowed to do. Badges bring that concept into Web3. They're real digital assets that you hold in your Radix wallet, but their purpose is specifically authorization. That means that they can be presented to Web3 applications just like flashing an ID card. Badges could be used for everything from your gym membership to your driver's license to the access pass to a private club in the metaverse. Here in my Radix wallet, I've got a user badge for that Scalability site where I got those backer NFTs that we saw. I've also got a qualified investor badge. We'll see how presenting these badges to an application works a little bit later. So, you've seen the tokens, NFTs, LP tokens, and badges in my Radix wallet. Now let's see how I can connect my wallet and start actually doing stuff with all these assets. Let's say that I want to connect to Scalability, and I pull up their website on my desktop browser so I can have a nice big screen experience. Of course, the first thing I expect to do here is to log in. We're not just doing email and password in Web3, we can do much better than that. In fact, we want to do more than just log in here. Web3 is supposed to be about having ownership of our digital lives and digital assets. So that means that when I connect to a Web3 app, I want to define who I want to be and what I want to bring with me in this particular corner of the web. That's why the developers of Scalability here built their application on Radix. And for their users, it all starts with that Radix Connect button in the upper right corner of their website. So let's click it. And right away, the Radix wallet back on my phone asks me if I want to log in. How did that happen? Well, I've already set up my desktop browser and my phone to automatically use Radix Connect. When I'm logging in like this, they make a direct encrypted connection without a service in the middle. And with that connection, the phone automatically received the login request. From my perspective as a user, though, my laptop and my phone just magically link together. Okay, this isn't the first time that I'm connecting to Scalability, though, so my wallet already knows that I want to log in and how. On this site, I'm RadMat. RadMat is a persona. Remember that personas use that on-ledger system that I described that keeps my login secure and recoverable. So let's go ahead and log in here. With one tap, I'm logged in as RadMat, and I didn't have to type in a password to do it. Behind the scenes, my wallet sent the login to Scalability over Radix Connect, and the wallet, persona, and website all conducted a strong cryptographic process to verify that login. That's pretty amazing on its own, but look what's happened on the Scalability site. Connecting wasn't just logging in. In the window under the Radix Connect button, I can see some pieces of information that I've chosen to share with Scalability from my wallet. It's got 2 of my smart account addresses and also my email address and my postal address. This is a really important point. This isn't data about me that Scalability is storing on its servers Web2 style. It's data held in my Radix wallet, and I've given the wallet permission to share that data with this site. I control what I share and who I share it with, and I can keep everything up to date all in my wallet. It completely flips the relationship between me and the apps that I connect to. It puts me in charge. In fact, the next time I connect to Scalability, I could easily choose to connect with a different persona and share a different set of data. This is a fantastic tool for privacy, and the Radix wallet makes it super easy for users. Okay, now that I'm connected, Scalability can see those backer NFTs in one of my accounts and present its own nice view. And now you can see that some of those NFTs have some meaning. One of my artists is actually sharing royalty earnings with backers, and it looks like I can claim some of those. So let's do that. If I click to claim, back in the Radix wallet on my phone, we get our first look at a transaction manifest. My phone received this over the same secure Radix Connect link that I used when I logged in. There's nothing more that I actually need from the Scalability website at this point, so let's just close the laptop and we can focus on the transaction manifest over on my phone. This is a transaction to claim those royalty earnings, and the wallet can show me exactly what's going to happen if I approve this transaction. At the top of the transaction, there's a little message from Scalability explaining that this is a royalties claim. Then moving down, I see that I'm presenting my Scalability user badge. I'm also presenting the backer NFT for this particular album. What that means is that when I approve the transaction, I'll be cryptographically proving to Scalability that I am really the owner of those 2 assets. Making that possible is a combination of smart accounts, native assets, and the transaction manifest. Presenting assets and transactions like this is a really powerful tool because it means that developers can issue badges and NFTs that safely and reliably control access to different parts of their applications. And for their users, it's completely automatic. Then, after those assets are presented, I can see that the result is I'll have 689 and some XRD deposited into my account, which sounds good. At this point, I want to take a step back and look at how intuitive and clear this whole thing is for me as a user. Everything that matters to me is in the transaction manifest and is shown right here on my phone. There's no possibility of something unexpected happening, and I don't have to trust the website that I was connected to before. In fact, the Radix wallet doesn't need to know anything about Scalability. And the developers of Scalability didn't need to do anything special to make it look this way in the wallet. The Radix wallet can give me a view like this for any transaction, automatically. Okay, the transaction looks good, so let's go ahead and do it. If I tap the Approve button, my phone automatically signs and submits the transaction to the Radix network. And now I see that the balance of my main account has gone up, just like I expected. That was one kind of transaction that I might encounter in Radix. But let's look at 2 others. Say that I want to put some of my earnings to work and I buy 500 XRD worth of tokenized Tesla stock. To do that, I go find a good decentralized exchange that lists Tesla stock tokens, and I enter my buy into the website. In this case, the transaction that gets passed back to my phone looks like this. Again, totally independent from whatever the exchange website told me, my Radix wallet clearly tells me what's going to happen, what's leaving my account, what's coming back. As a user, this is so comforting. It's how it always should have been in DeFi. So anyway, reading for the transaction from the top, first, I'm presenting a badge. This time, it's my qualified investor badge. Why is that there? Well, this exchange apparently needs to make sure that I'm allowed to receive Tesla stock tokens, and that badge proves that I am. Then, I can see that 500 XRD will come out of my account, just like I expected. But notice this time that I chose to withdraw from my savings account rather than the account that I used last time. That'll be important in just a minute to remember. Moving down from there, I see that those XRD interact with the MegaSwap app, and the result is about 1.04 Tesla stock tokens going back into my account. But notice that the deposit box is a little different than last time. It's saying that the 1.0396 Tesla is an estimated amount. It's saying that because the amount of tokens I get back might change by the time I approve and submit this transaction. Now this makes sense because the price of Tesla stock, of course, is always changing. So while the wallet can show me the price when I got to this screen, the price will probably change by the time I approve the transaction. But maybe that's not good enough for me. What if while I'm sitting here, the price of Tesla suddenly jumps up? Or what if somebody front runs my transaction? In both cases, I might get back a lot less Tesla than I expected. What I want is to put some limits on what I'm willing to accept in this trade. So have a look at that below the estimated amount of 1.0396. It says that there's a guaranteed 1.0188. That's the protection I'm looking for, and I can customize it too. If I tap Customize Guarantees here I can specify those guaranteed results myself. This is an extra rule the wallet is putting into the transaction manifest for me. The exchange app has nothing to do with it. Me and my wallet are telling the network what I want to happen. Here you can see that I've set a default in the wallet to make sure that I get back at least 98% of what I expect. I could reduce that guaranteed percentage if I'm willing to accept a lot of slippage, or I could set it to 100% if I need to get back exactly the estimate. 98% seems reasonable for this one, so let's apply this and go back. Setting that guarantee to 98% is where that 1.0188 that we see here comes from. It's the Radix network that will make sure that number is respected. If the price suddenly jumps up, or if somebody tries to front run me, the result from the exchange might be a return that's less than I expect. But the guarantee that I set in the wallet tells the network, nope, call the whole thing off. The transaction simply doesn't go through. The 500 XRD never leaves my account. This is incredibly powerful. It means that using the transaction manifest, the Radix wallet can actually protect me from lots of stuff that I cannot control in DeFi today. I don't have to trust the internal logic of the exchange app, and I don't have to worry about front running. As a user, there are no surprises. It's easy and safe. And this is how it has to be for any of this to go mainstream. Okay, so this feels good. I'm ready to buy that Tesla stock. Let's go ahead and approve the transaction. But this time, I've got an extra step. Remember that in this transaction, I'm withdrawing tokens from my savings account. Maybe that account is one where I want a little extra security on withdrawals. To do that, I've chosen to set up my savings account with multi-factor authentication. In this case, I have to physically tap a YubiKey device that my wallet has helped me set up as my second factor. Now at this point you might be thinking, hang on a second, what if somebody hacks my phone and bypasses the YubiKey check? Well, there's something really clever going on here. It's not my wallet or my phone that's checking the YubiKey. It's the smart account on the Radix network. All the wallet is doing here is asking the YubiKey for a signature, and it passes that onto the smart account onto the network. The smart account is the one that checks it. That makes for really strong security because it doesn't matter if somebody hacks my phone. The smart account is what protects me. As a side note, Radix also uses that same multi-factor feature to let me recover access to my accounts and my personas. If I ever lose my phone or buy a new one, I can use that feature. So, if I tap the YubiKey to my phone, the transaction gets signed and submitted to the Radix network. And look, I've got my Tesla tokens. Okay, let's look at one more transaction. This time, imagine that I'm not even connected to any website. I'm just sitting here reading the news on my phone, and suddenly a new transaction pops up. From the message at the top, it looks like a transaction for my friend Russell. And what he's referring to here is probably the Dallas Mavericks game that we talked about last week. Moving down from there, I can see that 100 XRD will come out of my account, but also 100 XRD will come out of Russell's account. And it looks like he's already approved his part of the transaction. Then moving down again, we're interacting with the Dallas Mavericks ticketing app, and the result is that both me and Russell will get back NFTs that look to be tickets to a Dallas Mavericks game. Of course, I could tap on those NFTs and get more information about those tickets. Now, what Russell is doing here is proposing that both of us go in together to buy the tickets to the game. If I'm not interested and reject this transaction, the whole thing is rejected. Neither one of us make the purchase. The transaction manifest ensures that's the case. But it does something else here that's really quite subtle and powerful. Maybe I'm too slow and one of the seats is gone by the time I approve. In that case, once again, the whole thing is canceled. If either one of us doesn't get a ticket, neither of us do. The money never leaves our accounts, and one of us doesn't awkwardly get stuck with a ticket that we don't want. Now, if you're a bit of a crypto nerd, you may have heard about the famous train and hotel problem. This causes lots of difficulties for developers and their users. This is actually the solution to that problem, and it's done right in the transaction manifest, not in smart contract code. But okay, let's say I do want to go to the game and I approve the transaction and it successfully goes through. If I go over to my NFTs in my wallet, there's my ticket to the Mavs game. And of course, Russell has one in his wallet now too. If I want to get more detail about the ticket, I can tap it right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And now I can see all of the metadata that makes this NFT unique. In this case, I can see that certain teams are playing, I can see the date of the game, and my seat number. And also, if I go down, I can see information about Mavericks ticket NFTs just in general. It's really cool that an NFT can be my digital ticket. But for it to really work as a ticket, I of course have to be able to actually use it to get into the game. And native assets and smart accounts make that actually possible to do. So imagine that I'm in line to get into the game, and at the front of the line there's an NFC tap scanner. I have my ticket NFT pulled up on my phone just like this, and when I get to the front, I tap my phone. The scanner lets me in. How does it do that? When I tap my phone, the Radix Wallet automatically passes a cryptographic proof that I am actually the person that holds this particular NFT. Now remember, earlier I did a transaction with Scalability where I presented a badge to show that I was a registered user. This is basically the same idea, but here I don't need to approve a transaction because no assets are actually changing hands. The NFC scanner can just check that I hold the ticket and then consider it used. After that, I get to hang on to the ticket NFT as a souvenir, kind of like a ticket stub. When it's possible to physically scan a digital asset like this, there are obviously lots of really interesting applications that Radix makes possible. In fact, I'll give you another one right now. Let's say that after the game, I want to go grab a coffee for the ride home. I go over to a local coffee shop across the street from the stadium. I go in, and while I'm placing my order, I notice a sign that says, Mavericks ticket holders get a discount on game day. Well, hey, that's me. So when I go to tap my phone to pay, I have my Mavs ticket NFT pulled up and ready to scan, just like I did to get into the game. And when I do, I get a transaction back that looks like this. The coffee shop system sees that I have a ticket NFT for today's game. And as you can see in the receipt message at the top, it automatically puts in the discount. Below the receipt message, I'm presenting my Mavs ticket, which proves that I qualify for the discount. And after the discount, I'm paying the $250 from my account. Nice and easy. What I think is so cool about this example is that the coffee shop owner didn't have to integrate to some proprietary Dallas Mavericks ticket app or use a third-party loyalty system. By integrated with the Radix Wallet, their payment system can see any digital asset that I choose to show them, just as if I'd handed the cashier a physical ticket stub. And if they wanted to issue their own discount card on Radix, that's just a badge. They can create it in 2 minutes work. It's such a simple thing to have digital assets be this easy and intuitive to create and interact with. But it's absolutely key to unlocking Web3's potential. One last little part to my story. When I get home from the game, I want to brag a little bit. So I'm going to pull up my favorite social media app and start a post. Here's what that might look like. You can see that I'm already logged into this Web3 social app using a persona. And you can see that I'm not just talking about going to the game. The app lets me browse my digital assets and attach actual proof to my post that I'm holding a ticket to the Mavs game. This isn't just me posting a picture of it. Any other user will see that it's verified that I actually hold this NFT at this moment in time. It's one more example of how on Radix we'll be able to seamlessly connect our digital identities and assets to all of these different types of apps and services that we interact with. And we'll be able to do it in a way that's secure and feels real. And that is at the heart of why Web3 will be so exciting for everybody. If all of that seemed simple and straightforward, that's exactly the point. It's a user experience that gets out of the way and lets users engage effortlessly. That's the kind of user experience that will make Web3, DeFi, and even the metaverse actually relevant to people. And you can't build it on any network except Radix. And remember, everything you just saw is made possible by the 5 technologies that are all included in the next update to the Radix mainnet. So, along with Cerberus, Radix Engine, and Scrypto, we can now add an integrated Radix Wallet user experience to our full stack. This means that on Radix, users will be able to connect to a new world of digital assets and Web3 applications in a way that feels natural and safe, not like tiptoeing through a minefield of expensive mistakes. Developers can finally start building truly great Web3 applications because the wallet is built to enable experiences that are not only decentralized, but rich and personalized. And ultimately, that means that entrepreneurs can start onboarding millions of new users into a new generation of Web3 applications that are just better. I'm really pleased to finally share this first look at what we've been working on with the Radix Wallet, and we can't wait to put it into your hand. It's just one of the big milestones that are coming up for the Radix network. To talk to you more about that, I'll hand you back over to Piers.
Thank you, Matt. I am so excited to start using the Radix wallet. I'm even more excited to start exploring the new Radix ecosystem from that wallet. All of that starts when the next version of the Radix mainnet ships. The mainnet release is going to be called Babylon. So let's talk timelines to Babylon. Babylon AlphaNet has been up and running since September 2022. Developers have already started building with Scrypto and the Radix Engine. If you want to join them, go to developers.radixdlt.com to get started today. And when you do, I couldn't more highly recommend joining our incredible developer community on Discord. It is the friendliest and the most helpful I have ever come across. It doesn't matter whether you are a seasoned pro or just getting started in Web3, there is support there for everyone. Babylon BetaNet is delivered before Christmas 2022. And with it, a developer preview of the Radix Wallet. This is where the real innovation around Web3 and the DeFi user experience can start to blossom. This is the last chance to be early before the Radix ecosystem goes live on the Babylon mainnet. Shortly after this, our developer grants will also be available. Babylon release candidate comes out in Q1 2023, and with it, final code testing for Babylon. Stable integration points, stable APIs. If you're an exchange, custody, or infrastructure provider, this is when you can integrate and test with confidence, because Babylon is just around the corner. Babylon mainnet ships in Q2 2023. This is when the current running Radix public network gets upgraded to include the full power of the Radix Engine, Scrypto, and the Radix Wallet with many of the things that Matt just showed you. This is when the full stack for DeFi goes live. This is when the Web3 ecosystem on Radix goes live. When users, assets, and dApps can start really flowing into the Radix public network. So if you have a DeFi or Web3 idea, today is the time to get excited. Today is the time to start building on Radix to be ready for Babylon ships. And everyone who buys Radix tokens can stake and secure the Radix network today. Without you, the community, the token holders, the node runners who run the network and make sure it is protected, there would be no Radix public network. Decentralized movements like Radix require active participation from everyone. They are fragile, but they matter, which is why we build together. Radix isn't just a breakthrough consensus algorithm for scalability. Radix isn't just an incredible way to design and secure dApps. Radix isn't just a revolutionary user experience. Radix is all of those things, built together to deliver everything DeFi and Web3 needs to go mainstream. Join us today. You're still early, but not for long. you.